Hey, this last section, before we run out of time here, is two of the biggest mistakes we see when negotiating that contract. And so let's cover those two areas because this could come back to bite you. And the first one that we see is for years, I have wondered why this core system does this, and I had no idea why they did it. But let's say three vendors are in there at about the same price, but their core is in there. The existing system is way higher, but they have like a big discount to come back to where we all were. And so I thought it just doesn't make sense to me until I realized what they were doing. And so the discounts that they're giving you, whether it's a renewal, whether it's a new system, those discounts mean something. And if you look at these contracts, and I'm not going to ask you to read this 75-page contract. This is one little snippet of a contract, but there's a section in here that just looks so unimportant, but it is important. And I'm going to highlight the very end of this term and termination page, this section. And it says, when you terminate, you're going to owe us fees for data. And if you turn it early, you owe us early termination fees. And, or plus, I should say, any unamortized conversion fees or credits and third-party costs. And so what I found out is that the credits or the discounts or the flex credit, whatever they call it these days, they get that money back if you decide to leave early. And so what I'm sharing with you is be real careful if those credits have kind of like a hook tied to them. And so if you're getting credits from a vendor, make sure that those credits, they stop today. So in 5 years, if I decide to leave in 4, the vendor doesn't get those credits back and you got to pay another $20,000 or 50 or whatever the credits were that they gave you in the beginning of time. Make sense? All right, so that's a real tricky one that we see oftentimes. It just happened not too long ago. This credit is converting, and I think they're in May. They went to get a buyout because they want to convert a month or two early, and they're going to pay for the data. So they got data, 2 months of early contract buyout, and they're thinking, okay, I can expect about this much. They didn't expect this credit buyback that they had to do on top of that number, and it was a lot bigger than they expected. So that's one thing we want to make sure you're aware of to look out for that kind of stuff. Okay, the next one is also another tricky strategy some of these cores out there are using right there. Okay, you buy a new module, and that module did what? And so what it means is, let's say you buy a new system and you get it in 2020. And let's say it's a 7-year contract. So you're expecting this thing to end possibly in 27. And that's when renewal will happen, or end it and I go to somebody else. But in 2005, you buy a module from them, like for a new LOS system or a new internet banking, or what happened to one of our customers is they bought an OFAC module for $1,800. Well, that OFAC module was another exhibit, or how they call it, addendum or exhibits, that had a term to it. And so in their contract, in their big contract, way back when they bought the system, it has this little clause in there that says something about term and termination. And so I'm going to highlight the part that's really important. Until the term of all outstanding exhibits have expired. So that OFAC module they bought 3 years in or 4 years into their term had its own 5-year contract. And so that 5-year contract then said the whole core is now out another 5 years. So be real careful of this, because we've seen it, it happened. And then again, what happens is you've got to renew with your core for a couple more years, and and they're hoping you retire, they're hoping you switch jobs, they're hoping you go somewhere else, they're hoping you merge. And by that time, maybe they can keep the business. because of this little term in there that sticks you with another couple of years on your contract. And those are the two little snippets to look out for in those contracts that have really caused a lot of harm and dismay and pains for our CEOs that are trying to get out of those things. Okay,